Hi, I'm Taylor from Southern Secrets, and we're back with another Bake With Us video. Valentine's Day is a little over 1 week away, and nothing says love quite like a decadent chocolate cheesecake with a raspberry drizzle. Making a cheesecake from scratch can feel a little intimidating, but I promise it's much easier than you think and so much better than what you can get at the store. You can make this for your Valentine, your Galentine celebration, or as a chocolate treat for yourself. I've never really been a fan of the classic cheesecake, but I've always had a special place in my heart for the chocolate cheesecake. You can top it with a raspberry drizzle, which we'll be covering in this video, fresh fruit, chocolate shavings, whatever you want. I've always found that chocolate and raspberries make the most beautiful flavor combination. Today we're breaking this recipe down into sections. So the first section is going to be the crust. And I'll go over the ingredients, the technique, and we'll make it together. Then the next section is going to be the actual cheesecake filling itself. And then the last part will be the raspberry glaze with the fresh fruit. Without further ado, let's dive right in. We have all the ingredients here for the graham cracker crust. And we're gonna make this and bake it before we put the filling in. It's actually pretty simple to make your own graham cracker crust, and I prefer how it tastes compared to what you can get at the store, like the pre-made crust. I think it tastes a lot better, it's fresher, a little bit of a richer flavor with the butter in there. So here we have 1 cup of crushed graham crackers. Now, you can make it yourself, you can crush the graham crackers and just measure out a cup, or you can get them already crushed from the store. Here we have 3 tablespoons of butter. Now 2 tablespoons are actually for the crust itself, and then 1 tablespoon we're gonna set aside so that we can brush the sides of the pan before the crust goes in. Then we have 2 tablespoons of sugar. I also have a little pastry brush here so we can brush the sides of the pan with the melted butter. I just have a little spatula for mixing the crust together, and a spoon. We're gonna start by pouring in the cup of graham crackers. Then we're gonna pour in the sugar. I just cut the butter in thirds, so I'm gonna place 1/3 in a separate bowl. I'm gonna go melt the 2 tablespoons we need for the crust. Okay, I'm back with the melted butter, so we're gonna go ahead and pour this in. Scrub out every last drop. And then we're just gonna mix this all together. It's pretty easy. I'm gonna go melt this other tablespoon of butter that we have set aside so that we can brush our 9-inch springform pan with it before we put the crust in. All right, we have our melted butter and our pastry brush. You can also use a paper towel if you don't have a pastry brush. So I'm just gonna take this and brush the bottom of our 9-inch springform pan so that the crust doesn't stick nearly as much later on. Give it a nice base. All right, now that we have our base, we're gonna go ahead and pour the graham cracker crust in and then press it down. What I like to do is take a measuring cup to press in the crust. At the end, we're gonna take a spoon just to make sure that it's even all the way around. All right, now we're gonna take our spoon and just press it in the edges so that we can get it completely covered evenly so the cheesecake does not leak through. So it should look something like this. It's pretty flat and even all the way throughout. Just take your spoon and press the edges in. We're gonna pop this in the oven for 10 minutes at 250 degrees. I'll be back. All right, I just took our crust out of the oven and we're gonna let that cool while we make the cheesecake filling. Let's go over the ingredients that we'll need for the cheesecake filling itself. We have 1/2 cup of cocoa powder, 3 eggs, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 2 tablespoons of flour, 1 cup of sour cream, 1 1/4 cups of granulated sugar, 3 cups of cream cheese, and 1/2 tablespoon of butter. And we're gonna melt this later. This is just to coat the sides of our springform pan so that the cheesecake doesn't stick. We'll need a stand mixer or a hand mixer, a sifter for the cocoa powder, and a spatula because we're gonna mix everything in between since this is such a thick filling. All right, we're gonna take our cream cheese and add it to the mixer first thing. You wanna make sure that it's room temperature so that it can absorb all the dry ingredients better and it'll bake up really well and mix with everything. So we're gonna go ahead and add this in with our spatula. Even though it's room temperature, it's still a little bit thick, so we're gonna mix this on medium to low speed for a minute. All right, now we're gonna mix our granulated sugar in, and we're gonna beat that on medium to low speed for 1 minute. All right, now I'm gonna take the spatula and I'm just gonna make sure that everything is mixed in, because sometimes the cream cheese tends to sink to the bottom because it's so heavy. Make sure everything's mixed in before we add the other ingredients. All right, now we're gonna add our vanilla and our sour cream. So I'm just gonna take the sour cream, spatula again, and just add it in. We're gonna add the vanilla. And once again, we're gonna beat this on medium to low speed for a minute. Okay, now it's time to add in our cocoa powder and the flour. So we'll do the flour first. I'm gonna take this off so we can sift the cocoa powder in and it won't be in the way, otherwise it could be a mess. We're just sifting the cocoa powder so that it's smooth and it'll mix in evenly. You can also take the bottom of your measuring cup to get all the cocoa powder in there and press it down. Look at how beautiful that is. Makes it really smooth. All right, I'm gonna put the attachment back on and we're gonna mix this on medium-low, once again, for a minute. You definitely want to start out slow with the baking cocoa and the flour, otherwise it'll go everywhere. Alright, I stopped it midway through because I saw that some of the cocoa was sticking to the sides of the bowl. So if you want, you can also stop it and push down the cocoa powder or the flour, whatever's sticking, with your spatula. You definitely want to make sure that it all gets mixed in there. So while this is mixing, I went ahead and cracked the 3 eggs. So we're just gonna add those in. And we're gonna mix this for, you guessed it, a minute on medium to low speed. It looks beautiful, smells amazing. All right, we're gonna let this sit for a second. I'm gonna go melt the ½ tablespoon of butter so that we can brush it on the sides of our pan. So I'll be back. We're gonna take our pastry brush or paper towel, whatever you're using, and take the melted butter and brush it on the sides of our pan. That way later when we pop the sides off, it won't take part of the cheesecake with it. All right, let's pop the bowl off. We're gonna pour it into our crust. Look at that thick, beautiful filling. All right, now our cheesecake is ready to be baked. So we're gonna bake it at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes. Then we're gonna lower the temperature to 250 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for an additional 40 minutes. I know a lot of people suggest baking a cheesecake in a water bath so that it doesn't crack and it absorbs moisture better, but I'm just trying to streamline this recipe and make it simple for you to replicate at home. So if it does end up cracking, don't worry about it. You can just cover it with a glaze or fruit. I promise it'll still be amazing. All right, we're back. We took this beautiful cheesecake out of the oven and let it cool on the counter for a couple of hours. Now we're gonna cover it with plastic wrap and stick it in the fridge for 4 to 6 hours, but you can also keep it in there overnight. Okay. All right, it's been 4 hours and it's time to take the cheesecake out of the fridge. Alright, now we're gonna pop it out of the springform pan. So because we brushed the bottom and the sides with melted butter, it shouldn't be sticking. But just in case, we're gonna take a knife and gently cut around the sides just to make sure that when we pop this out, it'll pull away. I'm gonna pop the side. Voila. So as you can see, my cheesecake turned out with a few cracks, but that's okay. I know it'll still be absolutely delicious. And it's totally fine if you have more or fewer cracks that I ended up with. It'll still taste the same. Now it's time to put the finishing touches on this decadent chocolate cheesecake. I have 3/4 a cup of fresh raspberries, but you can use however many you want. If you want to cover the entire cheesecake in fresh raspberries, feel free to do so, or you can just put a few on the edge. And then I have about a cup of raspberry preserves. I'm gonna pop it in the microwave and just heat it so that it's a little more fluid, because right now it's kind of a jelly consistency. All right, you can just melt the raspberry preserves until it's the consistency that you desire, whether that's a glaze or a drizzle. I kind of wanted it somewhere in between a glaze and a drizzle, so it's still a little bit thick. I'm gonna take my spoon and even it out on the cake. If you want more of a drizzle look, you can do what I'm doing. You're just gonna take your spoon and gently push it over the edge a little bit, because there is some excess here. There's like a little dip in the cake. There you go. All right, now I'm gonna take our fresh raspberries and sprinkle them around on top. Isn't that beautiful? All right, here is the finished product with the raspberry drizzle and the fresh raspberries on top. All right, now it's time for the best part, tasting this cheesecake. Had to get out the fancy plates for this occasion. Look at that. Here we go. This cake is enough to make someone fall in love, which is what you want for Valentine's Day, right? Absolutely perfect. Gosh. There you have it. This is a pretty simple cheesecake to make. So much better. So much better than what you can get at the store. This is perfect because the chocolate flavor is just right. It's not overwhelming, and paired with the raspberry. It's absolutely an amazing combination. I'd love to hear if you try this recipe at home. Let me know in the comments below. Hope you've enjoyed this baking video for this decadent chocolate cheesecake. This is one of my favorite things in the world. Hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day filled with lots of chocolate. We'll see you next time.